Last week in Qatar provided a very, very action-filled race between the drivers, and we got to see who could come out on top. Korsman came out on top provisionally, but the post-race penalties ended up promoting Reese to the top step of the podium at a time where he just needed it a little bit more. 73 points now, the gap between him and Scyther at the top of the table, and now it becomes a race of attrition, a race of when will it be clinched and how will it be clinched in terms of the title. Is Scyther going to be able to come back and be able to change that, or does Reese have to wait until next week at Mexico to do just that, the earliest he can clinch it? We'll keep you up on some headlines and some stuff as well. We'll go over the constructor standings, and then we'll tell you what's to be expected. The constructor standings, Red Bull ahead of Ferrari by 95 points, 176 points on offer after today's race. So it is crunch time for our drivers. And now it is time to introduce who is here. Owen, welcome along. Good to have you commentating alongside me today.
Hello. We're in the United States of America. This is your home. So I'm hoping for many little jokes regarding your nationality. Um, I want to see some American references being made throughout the stream as well. I'm very excited. America.
Absolutely. Let's talk about our drivers. Let's talk about the standings, everything else. I mean, Reese could clinch the title as early as wow, that was a bad start. Could clinch the title as early as Mexico, Owen, and obviously if he does that, he'll become I believe the 6th different tier 1 champion in RPL. With that said, though, for Reese, yes, 6 different. He's already won the F2 title. I'm not sure if he's won the tier 2 title before, but either way, with Reese,
Reese has won tier
he's
2.
come up second. What would you say?
He has indeed won the tier 2 championship.
Okay,
What's
so
he gonna
yeah,
do?
he would win all tiers, and he would win the title this season if he does just that after coming up second 2 previous times. So in terms of Reese and Scyther's title battle and how it's kind of changed the gap, tell me your thoughts on the title battle itself.
Yes. So I was listening to the audio in the stream back there.
You're all good. I know, because it's a little buggy sometimes. The
Twitch is
title
amazing.
itself, the gap has kind of changed itself, no doubt about it. But tell me your thoughts in this title race so far this season, up until this point.
Well, it's been a bit disappointing because one of the participants has elected to basically become part-time. Um, so I'd say Reese has had a pretty easy going of it. Considering controversial opinion, it's been if this is a championship winning season for Reese, no disrespect, it's probably one of the worst in RPL history due to the fact that unfortunately. It's obviously going to be clouded by the lack of Scousfer's attendance, and but then on the contrary, you have to be there to win them. And Reese, out of the Red Bull drivers who are the most likely to win the championship every season, he's been the one who's come out on top out of that whole battle. So you got to give him props, but obviously a little disappointing. There was more of a battle every single race weekend, but you can't win them all.
Absolutely, and you can't win them all, but at the same time, you just have to minimize the bad races. And he's had a really good record in terms of how many podiums he's had this season, Reese. So I mean, I do think you mentioned obviously if Scyther were here most to all races, I do think in terms of thinking of it that way, I think it would be a much closer race. Obviously, that's quite obvious. But I think regardless, in that extent, in my honest opinion, I think whatever outcome it would have been, I think both of them deserve the title. Obviously, Reese has only had, I believe, 3 races off the podium, whereas Scyther has had only 1 race off the podium when he's made every race. Both have the same amount of wins. I'm not sure in terms of podiums. I know Reese has more podiums, but I'm not sure the amount. I think it's 13 or 14 around that area. Red Bull, in terms of their constructors as well, let's talk about that for a second. Red Bull, they have 23 podiums, Ferrari 14, Red Bull at 8 wins, Ferrari at 7, and the gap is 95 points with Red Bull ahead. Um, in terms of Red Bull's sake for this, again, the earliest they can clinch the title is Mexico. But what has kind of been the outlook looking at both teams at Red Bull and Ferrari? I mean, there's been multiple different drivers who've raced for both teams this season. It's been flip-flop, obviously, to some extent. De Chiller raced earlier this season for Ferrari. Reese obviously stayed with Red Bull. Scyther stayed with Ferrari, but Scyther's missed a lot of races to where that Ferrari's been in and out, and you can see today with Grogger's in it. That's the perfect example with that kind of thing for Ferrari, and Cryptic at Red Bull as well. But Cryptic has been close to race victories. He was close at Qatar. So what has kind of been the outlook in your eyes for Red Bull and Ferrari's sake of a title battle? It's not much of a battle, but it's one that can be clinched soon.
Well, obviously, at the start of the season, Red Bull took the early lead for had a pretty disappointing start to the season. And by the first two rounds, they were actually third in the standings. Aston Martin was ahead, and then obviously Ferrari then started minimising the gap with the help of Scooter. Obviously, in Miami, I think the gap was the least. It was only 28 points. And then just eventually more and more the gap was increased, where it was to almost over 100, I believe, at one point, and then it also came back down again. Those races where it went up were when Scooter coincidentally wasn't racing as often. So is there a correlation? Is Ferrari almost a one-man team this season for the majority? I would say no. The Schiller in the early parts of the season, as Grandpa goes into the first lap of the session, Schiller obviously got very unlucky. From my point of view, I think his departure from Ferrari was unnecessary, but it happened nonetheless. And Jack obviously came in. He's a very strong competitor, and a dependable stern head, be a good second driver behind Scooter. And you have to say the main downside for Ferrari was the absences of Scooter, of course, and obviously Red Bull having, obviously on the video game, obviously the much superior car, and Ferrari obviously in the races it's a poor car. The tire wear is pretty poor on it. Just the race pace in general on a Ferrari isn't as good as I'd say the Mercedes or the or the McLaren. The Mercedes or the McLaren I'd say are pretty similar, if not almost better than the Ferrari in the races. Definitely the McLaren anyway. So for Ferrari to be second is where I pretty much think they should be going for. I don't think winning championships on the regularly is really the cards for Ferrari at this point in the pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go over some headlines toward this race and talk about who is in what car. So, as drivers continue to clock in some times, we're just going to wait till Beatnik comes across the line. Reese, obviously, at the top of the board right now in Red Bull. T.S. Korsman returning for McLaren. Grandpa at Alpine as well. Behrman is Annex, for those of you unfamiliar with that. Annex, again, just changing his name as many times as...
Mr. Ocon.
I guess as many times as Scyther's missed a race this season, just about.
We have breaking news.
With that. Oh.
Scooter is not racing.
There's your final word. He was supposed to turn up today. Said he was going to make it, but there's your answer. So I'll figure out who's in the second Ferrari. With that said, Beatnik in the Aston Martin. Borbin at Williams. I believe that was done just recently. Him, Williams, rest of the season. We also have Jack Starr returning. He's going to serve a qualifying ban, it looks like. He is at Alpine. Grogger's at Ferrari, if you can get Annex and invite back. Trat Racer, again, back at Williams. I don't think he had the best of Tier 2 races yesterday. I don't even remember if he raced, honestly, at this point. Hunted on loan to Alfa Romeo. Minico at Aston Martin. Ads at Mercedes. Ads, I believe, is racing Mercedes for the rest of the season. We'll see how that goes. Already signed a contract for next season. And Stenner at Haas. Stenner racing for Haas today. He's part of that academy again for next season as well, as we continue to watch drivers clock in some times, and some of them are about to start some laps. And I think Jexstar has served that qualifying ban already to where I don't think he has to serve it now. So he did serve it in Singapore. So a little misconception there between that whole ordeal.
Yes.
Either way, we're on board with the Groggers. For Ferrari, 25-4 in the first sector. Let's see what he can do on his lap for Ferrari. Obviously, very well going, I would say, so far in Tier 2. Obviously, we'd like to continue that. But coming here, getting the opportunity for Ferrari today is definitely one he's going to take full advantage of, I would assume. I mean, there's so many people who could take advantage of a Ferrari spot. Yesterday, Alex Baer finished second at Spa with that Ferrari advantage. He took, yeah, I can't even get the words out of my mouth for it, but the point being is that he started at the very back of the grid, Alex Baer did, and came back and finished second, could win this race for Tier 2 if he just gets that 3-second appealed. And now we switch to Grogger's onboard with the final sector, coming through a very famous section. It's usually the Turkey triple left, it's the Coda double right, and now to the final two corners where track limits can be very easy to extend. Groggers is pushing the limits, purple in his sectors, but has yet to set a time. Comes to the final corner, and here he goes to the line. Where can he stand in terms of the drivers? He is third fastest, splitting both McLarens.
Very nice. I've got some interesting, for Q1 and Q2 possibly, some interesting little fun facts. I think this could be a common occurrence. I think it would be quite enjoyable on the local area of the circuit. Got some Texas slash Coda slash Austin fun facts. The first driver to actually drive a lap of this circuit was Mario Andretti. So quite interesting. And the left-hand bend before the start finish is called Andretti. So the final corner, I believe it is called Andretti. So little fun fact, and it's the first track in America that was built for F1.
Nice. Very, very nice. We switch to Ads, who comes to the S section, and we'll talk about him. Also, you know, you mentioned fun facts. I'll do my little fair share here. Reese Dainty is making his 100th RPL F1 start today. Obviously, he has way more starts than that across all tiers, but it would be very nice to see him get a win today. If he were to get a win today, it would be his 40th all-time in terms of all tiers, since we are speaking of that. And Reese Dainty and TS Korsman feel they are safe into Q2, and I would agree with that. They are that much farther ahead of the pack. And now we go to Ads' onboard and see what he could do. You go down this long back straight, you shift up the gears, and you just continue to waste that battery. You go down below halfway, and you're at 8th gear, about to be 200 miles per hour. Obviously, the Mercedes not going to reach that. A very slow car in a straight line. Depends on your setup as well. And now you want to click toward the inside curb. He does just that. To the outside curb as well, trying to improve some time. Arc the corner. Not fully to the inside there from Ads, but that's not going to hurt him too much. And now toward the outside here. This curb can be very treacherous if you're not careful enough. Could be an auto spin curb if you just go on it the wrong way. More driver setting in times. But now here comes Ads. Ads around the final couple of corners. Navigating his way through, inside curb, bounces over that. Now to the final corner, Andretti corner. Comes across the line, turn 20, DRS enabled, and where's he gonna go? He goes second fastest, so the Mercedes driver setting himself up very nice so far in this qualifying session, showing he has tons of pace for today's race. And Cryptic crosses the line as well. He's going to go second fastest, making Red Bull 1-2 so far in Q1. Groggers also retires in the pit lane, believing he is safe, and I expect Minico went P5 to do so next as well. We did not catch that from Minico, but fair play. Who else is on a lap who we could go on board with and get Owen to talk about? Who? Stenner. How about Stenner entering the final sector? I think he's on a cooldown lap, but walk us through the final sector here, Owen.
Well, this corner, obviously, Tier 1 is no ABS, so that corner he did there, extremely hard to not lock up. And obviously, the triple right is a bit of an entertaining little corner, you know. Sometimes, depending on the setup, if you have a horrible setup, is one of the worst corners you could possibly take in a race car because you have zero confidence. Is that a car that just crashed in the pit entry there? It was a tire. Okay, interesting. But yes, I'd say last
Grandpa.
Dakota is upper echelon. It is up there. First sector is obviously one of the greatest, I'd say as well. The S section is, as if you go on board with the outlap of Annex, it's just obviously he's going very slowly, but when you're on the hot lap, it is unbelievable.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this circuit, you know, Lewis Hamilton said this is the best circuit built in the last 20 years. I mean, I know it does get a decent bit of backlash from a lot of fans because, well, it's in the U.S. or, you know, some of the races here have not been great. But personally, I will say, real life stances, I love this track. I think this is the only track that should be ran out of the 3 U.S. tracks we have. We have Miami, we have Vegas, we have Texas, Coda, whatever. You know, the fact of the matter is this is a really, really good track. And I think of the tracks that have been built in the last 20 years, and I honestly would probably agree with that in some extent. The fact of the matter, though, is, as you see Grandpa crash out of the session, by the way, we just spoke about that for a moment. He was 10th fastest before crashing out. The fact of the matter is, yes, this is one of the best tracks. It should be it should be the only U.S. race, but, you know, it really does a lot of testing the drivers. We had, when you spoke about it, so many drivers with a penalty last week in Qatar. This week at Circuit of the Americas, if you expected just last week to have so many penalties, well, we're probably going to have the same amount this week as well, as we're now on board with Annex.
Under the name Oliver Behrman
Right.
today, and he's got the number 50 in the similar helmet, Ollie Behrman. Clearly a big fan. Through the greatest set of corners in American racetrack history. That could be debatable because the carousel at Road America is also very nice. And to the exit of the S's, it's a very difficult track to set up. Are you going to go for a high downforce setup for the first sector? Are you going to go for a straight line speed setup for the big, massive, humongous American style back straight we're about to see Annex drive through here? So it's good for Izzy, actually. I lied. He should 2 to go, so he's starting at the back. But the American boy is for his home Grand Prix. And Annex is going to go for the tricky little sector. 2 temps up, as you say. To set a little decent lap here to guarantee safety. And it's been pretty. That little bit there was a bit safe on the safer side, and is he backed out, or I don't know, maybe it's just a Haas, I don't know. It seems very slow through here. Through he goes. Into Andretti corner. I hope it's actually just called Andretti corner, and the thing I read is on the line. He goes P8. So that's a nice little area to slot himself into. You shoot through.
Very nice showing from Annex. Now we have L74G and all other drivers on a lap who have yet to set a time and need to set a time, because now the elimination zone, it's between Kippu and Beatnik, 14th and 16th. So can L74G get through into the top 10? Yes, he can. L74G is 7th. Needed to be the top 15, but nice enough to do the top 10 for him. Now that puts Kippu in the bottom 4 actually. Scyther not going to be able to make it out on track to make a lap, so he is done and dusted. Next across the line is an AlphaTauri. DeChiller is starting a lap. Also, Tret Racer invalidated his outlap, starting a lap. So we'll see if Tret Racer cut any part of the track. Just a reminder to the drivers, you cannot cut any part of the track in order to gain time or get back to the pit lane. Kippu and Stenner, the ones on outlaps. Kippu trying to race to the flag and make it. Stenner will make it start a lap now. Next up is the Alfa Romeo of Grandpa. And then it's Hunted as well behind that, who is completing a lap. Also, Jackstar, invalidated, needs to get to the line now, and he will get to the line just in time. And it's really going to be it there for drivers trying to start a lap, because you can see Scyther on track, just trying to get some warm-up, I believe. But checker flag's waving for him. I'll apologize there to Scyther for not looking at the message with him needing an invite. I think it was, you know, about 2 minutes left whenever I invited him. Behrman is off. He is obviously safe and through. However, it's now up to Beatnik, who is 3 seconds up on his lap. Going to need to find time in the final sector to get through. And can he find time? Beatnik comes across the line, makes it 11th place. That now knocks Hunted to the bottom and needing to improve. Hunted heads to the pit lane. So Hunted is done. And he is out. Trat Racer, a 10th up on his time, trying to improve as well. L74G heads to the pit lane. DeChiller trying to improve. DeChiller is next across the line for AlphaTauri. Needs something special in his 3rd star for AlphaTauri here this season. It is not going to be an improvement. 13,000's down. So next is Trat Racer, who was improving by a 10th. He's going to try to fend off the drivers behind, but he is backed out of this one. So something's happened with Trat Racer to where he could be out if Jackstar or Kipu improve. It's Jackstar and Kipu, the last two to make something of it. And they need it at this exact moment. Kipu will be first across the line. We'll see what he does. Stenner improved to 10th. He was through anyway, so that's not going to matter. However, here comes Kipu. Kipu trying to out-qualify his teammate and get into the top 14. He needs to do just that. He does improve, but not by much. And Jackstar, I think, is also out as well. Yes, he's out. 16th. 17th.
Shame. We've been better serving that quality, man. Both Alpines are out in Q1, obviously, because of Grandpa's little incident. So, major disappointment. Both Alfa Romeo's out as well. And obviously, Scusa and the Ferrari out as well. So, interesting. Both Williams through for well, I was going to say for the first time in a while, probably, but it's probably incorrect. And De Schiller through in the AlphaTauri. He's the only AlphaTauri, isn't he? He is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So, bottom 4, bottom 5. It's actually bottom 5 with Grandpa crashing out. It's Grandpa, Jackstar, Haunted, Kipu, and Scyther. Scyther did not get to set a lap, but crucially for him, he's here. And he can take some points off of Reese, or at least prevent Reese from extending the gap as much. Meaning that if Scyther does outrace Reese, the championship, I believe, would go to Mexico regardless. I'm trying to think how many is available after Mexico. 78 points? Would that sound about right? Yeah, either way, if he could find a way there, he needs to outrace Reese by quite a bit amount of points then to make sure it at least goes on to Brazil. You know, a lot of championship questions, a lot of championship scenarios, a lot of the people asking questions. I mean, chat, you guys have spoke about some of the stuff that's gone on so far. Minico explaining he needed to thread the needle between a Williams and a Mercedes, and Gerard saying that didn't go as planned. Titan asking to invite Scyther, we did that. Either way, the points on offer and stuff like that, you know, I mean, both championships can be clinched at as early as Mexico. That's the earliest they can be. However, after that, it's a matter of, well, can people win the races that they want to? Can they get on podium? Can they achieve the goals that their team has set out for them to achieve? So that shall be interesting to see in terms of what has happened there. Now, in terms of the constructors, like we mentioned, more point difference, I should say, compared to the gap with points available. You have 176 points available after today. 95 points the gap. 104 points available on the drivers today, or after today. 73 points the gap. So we'll watch Scyther from the back of the grid to see what he can do in today's race. However, we have drivers on track, and we have 4 going to be eliminated in this session.
Who's it going to be? Williams definitely going to be the Schiller.
I think so.
Because that car is
I
an
agree.
absolute boat.
All right, well, I'll give my 4, and we'll watch out for our top of the board time as well, so we can predict the quali time for pole as well for Q3. Out in this session for me, both Williams, DeChiller, and I'm going to go with Beatnik. Beatnik has not felt confident around here, so it's easy for me to say that Beatnik will be out, but the biggest surprise into Q3 will be both Haas's in.
Oh, and a bit of an overtake from the Schiller on TS Corsman in qualifying. Very interesting from Mr. Italian man. Get a bit
Who do you
racy.
think will be out? Owen.
Um, I'm gonna say Grog, Bourbon Track Racer, De Schiller, and I don't know. Um, Red Fire. No, it won't be Red Fire Tiger. Well, one of the Haas's. I don't know. One of the. Probably seems you. That's probably the exact same I said as you said, but yeah, it's the most logical.
Yeah, I mean, I think both Haas's will be in, so it shall be interesting. I think Beatnik's going to be the one out. Beatnik struggles around here, but home race for him. Home race for Beatnik, home race for Scyther, as we mentioned. I'm trying to think of who else has a home race here. I mean, it's not a home race for Minico, but it's right around Minico's area, so at least for Minico, you know, it's in that region, I guess you could say, so he gets something to enjoy in that aspect. But now we go on board with Minico's teammate, though, since we were speaking of Minico. Beatnik. Beatnik in the Aston Martin home race for him. Goes to third gear now. 103.3 by the sector and heads to the inside to try to find some time here at Sector 3. Just a very sweeping section. You look at how many turns are on this racetrack. 20 turns are on this racetrack. While in the final sector alone, you have a total of 8 different corners that you have to negotiate your way through. That is how much is on offer here. And now he comes to the final 2 corners. And now the final corner. Can Beatnik set in a good enough banker to not have to go out the second time around, or at least avoid having to improve the second time out if there's mistakes? He's at a 34.3 now, and more drivers come across the line to see where they go. Minico betters that, 33.9. AlphaTauri next of De Chiller starting a lap, so we'll go on board with him while other drivers clock in times. You have the Mercedes of Luke, slots in between them. The McLaren, that is Redfire, going 4th place. And next is the Mercedes of Ads. Ads will go across the line, and Ads is top of the board, 32.9. Ads has been very impressive so far. He was 3rd in Q1, and now probably good enough to make Q2 at that time. As you go on board with now the Chiller, who is clipping these curbs, trying to find time. You can just see he's struggling on board with this AlphaTauri coming through Sector 1. A little bit of a wiggle from the Chiller, and at the sector split, obviously purple, but purple on his personal best because he has not set a lap just yet. Now, coming through to turn number 11 on the run toward DRS. This is a very interesting corner in terms of whether you want to give it to a switchback or you want to take it normally. You saw it in esports here. DRS games were made up until the straight. That's exactly what could happen in today's race if drivers want to play the tactical game. Now the Chiller cuts in and heads to turn 13 now at a 4.7, so he is far off of Beatnik's time. The Chiller, not with a lot of pace, but remember, this is just a banker. He will have to go again regardless. The Chiller, inside curb here, aims toward that, now to the outside as he heads towards 16, 17, 18. Don't cut it like Verstappen did in 2017. That would be treacherous. And now, penultimate corner for him. This one gets really, really tricky sometimes. The Chiller not maximizing it, and yeah, he's heading to the pit lane. So you can just tell he backed off of that lap and is frustrated with the time he could not find there in his AlphaTauri.
He's on a flyer. He's on a 102.5 after Sector 1 and 2. That was on par with what Ads did when I had a little look at what he was doing. So can Mr. Dainty knock off Ads off his perch?
Let's see. Reese, final 2 corners now for him. Yellow flags, that's for a car getting out of the way in front of that. You can see Track Racer, impressive for Williams, goes P4. Williams, bottom 3 in the constructors, needed that. And how about Reese Dainty, 32.7s, that is where we're at for Q2. Track Racer, where did he find that from?
See what Bob and his teammate can do. He's done a 102.7 on Sector 1 and 2. What's he cooking?
Williams, in the constructor standings, Owen, sit 9th. They have only scored a few points in the last couple of rounds. Well, actually, last couple of rounds, I should say last 8 or 9 rounds, because they've not scored any points since Monza. They need this. Williams only 2 points out of Haas. Haas scored their first point since Canada with Annex last week, and Haas have a good driver lineup this week to where they need something. How about P3 from Bourbon Boy?
Wowza.
Wow.
Behrman has done a. Let me see what he's done. We're gonna call him Behrman, or we're gonna call him Annex? I'm so confused.
What do you want to call him? Annex Behrman?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Should ask the chat. Chat, I know there's like 5 of you watching, 6 of you watching right now. Behrman or Annex, which one do you prefer for today's race? I mean, he keeps changing his name, so we're going to have to call him something different every week.
Well, he's about to set
this
some
week,
blinder.
3-3-2.
That's marginally off Bourbon. Good job.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, we focus on the battle toward the front of the constructors, but I'm going to look to the back of the constructors for just a moment. Alfa Romeo in 8th, 24 points. Williams in 9th, 20 points. Haas for last right now, 18 points. They were at 9 points last round. 5-place grid penalty for Behrman. Blocking. He blocked the Mercedes. Quit blocking.
As that lap has been blocked, that's an easy 20-second time penalty.
Well,
There's a
race
lot,
is
I
just
think.
confirmed to me, by the way, that there's
Yes.
no rain whatsoever all weekend of this race.
Oh, brilliant.
Good. Minico seemed happy about that, I will say, so you know what?
What's
Seems very well.
cooking? They just went completely off the circuit. He thinks it's IndyCar where you can just use whatever track limits you want. They're 33.9 on the lap, so not anywhere near his teammates.
Beatnik says his boys are cooking. And Mercedes in the academy for them. Ooh, it's about to start a lap, but we are getting darker here in terms of the track. However, well, I should say the forecast, not the track, but in terms of drivers on an out lap, we have L74G. How about you commentate on your boy on a lap here, Owen? L74G starts lap now here.
My heart. Here he comes into turn 1. Where's he going to brake? There's literally barely... The wall's very far away. The braking markers is very difficult to see. But here he goes through. It's very difficult throttle area. Easily to spin. Now into the roller coaster. Flat for the first bit. Flat for all 3 bits there. Only a wee small break there. That's very very ballsy, to be fair. He's done a 25-0. He's 5 tenths up on his first lap, so he obviously had a honker. Now using all access curb and can on the exit. And now into the second hairpin on the circuit. Oh, the second hairpin on the lap. Another hard traction zone. DRS opened with immediate effect as soon as he crosses the light line. Keeping close to the right to minimize the distance to the braking zone. Braking just before the 100-meter board. Down to third gear using all the track limits the game lets you. And then into the twisting and tightening and going back on yourself sector. Making sure not to lock up the front tires. Very easily done in that corner now through the triple right. Avoiding the first apex, hitting the second, hitting the third. Interesting. Usually you want to go a lot wider. But into the final 2 complex of corners. Making sure not to track extend because the curves are very flat. Using every single little bit of tarmac he can. He goes professional pole with 32.3.
So I've just been notified word on this. A lot of the drivers who had set their bankers in this qualifying session used their Q1 set of tires. So that is exactly why you see drivers like Bourbon, drivers like Behrman up there on the timing charts. No one's retired thinking they're safe just yet. The Chiller set a lap time that was 6 fastest and adds. Makes it a Mercedes 1, 2, and Q2 right now. Top of the table.
Wowza. Is Mercedes cooking?
Yes, it is. I think they are. I think they are. Well, let's see who else is on a lap or about to start one. Groggers is about to start one. Q3, by the way, will be overcast on the conditions, and the start of the race same way as well. And I think that's I don't know if I'm correct on this, but Annex, I think in 2 races now, since he's started in this league, he has got grid penalties for illegal blocking. So I think this game does not like him. In fact, and speaking of Annex, Bearman, you know, chat, you guys need to tell us, what should we call him, Annex or Bearman? What do we think? Either way, as we watch Grogger's lap, he has scored 2 P5s and 2 P6 in the last 4 races, and the last 2 weeks have both been P6s. Now coming through the sweeping bits of Sector 1, a 10th up from Grogger's. So you could just tell that these definitely were his Q1 set, as he is finding the time and going all over this track and all on the curbs, finding each time that he can just mount those curbs, find a way to find the time. And now, coming to turn 11, out of turn 11, DRS enabled, and now you can see Cryptic third fastest, multiple drivers improving. So really, it looks like no one's safe. Fourth on down, because Reese is out there again. You don't know what the time could be for these drivers to get in. Right now, the current time at 10th place with Tret Racers at 34.0 and a Chiller out of this session. 4/10 up for Groggers. He's got a couple cars he's going to have to negotiate his way through. One is an Aston Martin. He's done just that already. Next is the car in front. That is the Haas, and that Haas is very much out of the way. Groggers coming through the final 5 corners now. 16, 17, 18, and now on the run toward turn 19. Ads thinks he's safe. Surely is. Now, hopping over the curbs, coming to the line. Has Groggers found enough pace to get through into Q3 in that Ferrari? Lone Ferrari in this session. 6th place for him. Minico, also 5th fastest as well. So that will be the target in terms of these drivers that they want to be around. 7/10 off of Ads, a 32.9. We now switch to other drivers who are starting a lap. Behind that in the background, Tret Racer is starting a lap. Bourbon should make it to the flag in time. Reese will make it to the flag in time, no doubt about it. And Annex in the pit lane, P8. We'll find out whether or not he will make it through regardless on time. Right now, the answer is yes, but more drivers are on track and still improving. Next across the line of Red Bull, Reese makes it to the flag. Bourbon should make it to the flag. Next across the line will be Cryptic, but Cryptic has backed out. So, and he's on a cooldown lap regardless. So, next is Korsman. We've not talked a lot about Korsman, who finished P3 last week, took his first pole position last week, took McLaren's first pole position last week in 2 seasons. Can Korsman set himself up there on the table? Comes across the line, 7th fastest. Is it enough to get through, though? He's just barely had a Bourbon. And speaking of Bourbon, Bourbon aborts the lap, making now Bearman at P9.
And the only man to not set a provisional lap time is going to be the first of the remaining drivers to finish his qualifying. Will he make it through? It'll be a close one.
Stenner is 7th. Stenner is through, knocking Bearman to the risk zone. Across the line is Beatnik, who can't get out of that bottom 4. Also coming across the line, Red Fire Tiger trying to get out as well. Red Fire is through. Red Fire into 9th. And now behind that, it's up to Tret Racer. Tret Racer can't get through. Bourbon Boy in the Williams is going to make Q3.
Crazy. Our prediction was pretty much correct.
Wow. Well, I said Beatnik out. I said the Chiller out. And Reese improves to 2nd, by the way, on that lap. Very nice by Beatnik. Or sorry, Reese, excuse me. Fastest in the final sector. So
he's not. He's out. And his American helmet. He's disappointed himself in front of all of his American compatriots.
This is a very nice helmet. I must give him credit in terms of that. So the drivers needed a 33.2 to advance. Groggers with his 32.9 was safe, but obviously if you're a driver, you wanted to be around there to be sure you're going to be safe, and obviously not everybody was. And we're just waiting on Korsman to head back to the pit lane. Either way, Minico is no surprise to me on that Aston Martin. Stenner and the Haas, no surprise to me right there. But Bourbon Boy ahead of Behrman by 12 thousandths to make it through. Nice one, Minico. It explains why Beatnik went in Stroll's seat. Yeah, I said Beatnik's not good around here. So, that is that. Either way, we see the McLaren of Korsman head to the pit lane. Him and his teammate are through into Q3. You have ads a 32-2, top of the table. Then Reese, then Luke, then Cryptic, Minico, your top 5. You could see 2 Mercedes, 2 Red Bulls, 2 McLarens make it through with a Haas, a Ferrari, an Aston Martin, and a Williams. But out in qualifying, you have... I mean, do we want to call him Behrman or Annex? We'll figure that out after. We have Beatnik,
Oliver Behrman, the real one.
Chiller, Trot Racer, and Behrman out. 4 different teams make up the bottom 4. Wow. Behrman or Annex? What do we want to call him?
Auxiliary cord.
All right. Actually, I'll ask
I
him
actually
myself.
called him American Express the first time I saw him because Annex reminded me of Amex. Yeah.
Let's see. Q3 time. He wants to be called Behrman on stream, so there we go. Well, I think we call him out of Q2. Out of Q2.
Annex.
Yes, he wants to be called Behrman.
And now we're calling him Annex.
Oh no. Alright, into Q3, let's talk about these drivers for a moment. Bourbon Boy for Williams. Well, let's give you a small little stat here, in fact, in terms of your drivers with qualifying. Well, best ever qualifying position for Williams, you have to go all the way back to Season 3 France, P6 for them. They've never qualified better than that. Could they get any better today? Well, probably not, but Bourbon Boy is incredible. He's won 4 F2 races in a row, 6 so far this season. So, you know what? Is he too focused on F2? Is he not going to be able to get better than 6th, the best qualifying result for Williams? Well, you know what? That car is a boat anyway, so we should not assume that he could qualify better than 6th or get up that far up in the grid, considering that car is atrocious, and he's done just enough to get through to Q3 anyway, so he deserves a credit to at least be here. Speaking of being here, Stenner's here as well for Haas. Very much of an improvement for them. They need this. They scored 10 points last week, excuse me. In fact, well, actually, yes, 9 points, because Annex Behrman, took the fastest lap, finishing P6. So, much points they gained from all of that, and they needed it. They got it, and they now close in on P8 in the championship with Alfa Romeo. Obviously, you don't see Alfa Romeo in this session with Q3. They're not competing. They're not up there, so they need a little bit in order to be up there. But in terms of Haas for Stenner did quite well last week. 4th place on track, I believe, and finished 4th as well. Obviously, he leads the penalty standings, so he just needs to avoid penalties, and I think he'll do fine for Haas in terms of getting them up on the grid. McLaren as well. Let's talk about McLaren. Obviously, many rounds ago, we've mentioned it. Their car upgrade. Well, their car upgrade has made sure that they got both cars into this qualifying session. P4 in the Constructors' title, but if Mercedes somehow fumble the bag and McLaren win races, which, that's a surprise to hear about, they could take P3, but they're just trying to hold on to P4 from Aston Martin, who have Minico in the session. No home driver into Q3, as now Luke is the first one here to start a lap. How about you take us on board with this, Owen? Talk to us about making everything to get pole on this track.
And he drives the car. So,
Really?
yes. Yeah, it's the same as his Q2 lap. You full throttle for the for the first 3 parts of the air section. That gives him 25-0 in the first sector. You need to use every single little inch of the curb as possible, as he's just there. And going into the braking zone, when you brake around the 100 meter board. So I lied. It's after the 100 meter board, and onto the main straight. If you get a horrible exit onto the straight, your lap is absolutely destroyed immediately. Because it's so critical, it's so long. You lose tenths of a second for getting it wrong. And then into the twisty turning section again. Into the final section we go. Sector 2 split is going to be a 102.0. Into 13 and 14 here we go. Two of the most horrible corners that I've ever driven in a race car. But into turn 15, which is brilliant corner, just opens up. The camber helps you a lot. Turn at 16, 17, 18, gliding for, again, he used that very tight apex in the third bit on turn 18. And into the final two corners, not a lot of curb on entry as you would have wanted. Using all the exit curb very nicely onto the final corner and across the line for a 132.265.
On provisional pole, who is going to get it? That'll be the question we'll talk about in terms of everyone getting done with their out laps and their first laps. Now across the line is Ads, the Mercedes teammate, is going to be second. Next will be Cryptic. He's got 7 poles, 1 win. Will it be 8 poles and 1 win? If he could just go into provisional pole. Cryptic comes across the line, and so far that answer is yes. Also across the line is his teammate Reese, who leads to the championship. He is third, and how about 3 drivers within a 10th? Next up is Bourbon. Bourbon is 5th. Bourbon not going to better it. Korsman comes across the line. Korsman's 5th. Next up is Stenner. He starts a lap, but Groggers is the next one completing one. Groggers across the line for Ferrari. Ferrari is 5th with him, and now it's Redfire's chance to say something about it. No podium this season. He's going to be P6 ahead of that teammate, though.
Interesting, ahead of Mr. Korsman. I see Korsman do that on one tyre, so I cannot see. Maybe he just had a bad lap. Is he going again? No, he's a second down. Interesting.
Well, now it's up to Minico and Stenner, who on a lap. Minico's invalidated. Stenner now going through. We'll go on board with him. But top 3 for me. This is very interesting. I mean, Luke's up there. I mean, I think he's done really well. In fact, wherever Cryptic is, I feel like Luke is. So that's a good sight. Top 3 for me. This is actually really tough. This is probably one of the first times I can't think of a genuine top 3 here in terms of qualifying. Well, I'm going to go with... Ooh. Cryptic on pole.
Oh.
Extends the time, though. Add second. Luke third. I'm really counting Reese out of it, but I just don't think Reese is really good in qualifying. I hate to say it to Reese because Reese is very talented. He leads the championship. Has a couple poles this season, but not as many as his rivals, though. So I think it will be Cryptic, Ads, Luke. That's what I think the top 3 will be. And I think the pole time will be, as Stenner clocks at 9th, I think the pole time will be a 32.0.
I think Mr. Luke will get pole position. Him or Ads. It's got to be a Mercedes on pole today. I've got the feeling.
I agree to some extent, but I think Cryptic betters it. Cryptic's been extremely well in qualifying. He got pole in Japan. Remember, the pole sitter has not won the last 11 races now. Make it 11. It was 9. It was 10. Oh, now it's 11 because they just cannot seem to have that same winning pace or same winning luck as the other drivers are able to have who win the races. And Stenner heads back to the pit lane. We have no one on track. Let's talk about our previous events from this weekend. Tier 2 saw Grandpa take the victory. Alex Baer plans to appeal a 3-second penalty he got for track limits, and he could get the win in his third start. What other driver did we see perform well in a Ferrari in their third start when they were called up? Oh, Cam. Yeah, he's not here today, though. But very much like the shades and flashbacks to Cam. If I could just speak English on that, that'd be nice, and you could understand what I'm saying. But yeah, flashbacks to Cam there with Zandvoort. With what he was able to do for Ferrari in his third start, called up to race for them, did quite well. And Alex Baer, new driver in the league, same story, different scenario. Also deserves the credit. F2 winner Bourbon won both races, has scored 77 of the 78 points available in the last 4 races of F2, last 2 rounds. It's impressive. He's leading the championship. Ads was battling him for the longest time, and Now Borbin's going to have a massive lead for F2. And he's got a massive lead to the next car coming out on track as well in this race. Or, sorry, qualifying session. So Borbin definitely deserves that credit. I was able to get my best F2 finish today. I did not stream the race. Usually I would, but I finished P5. Had to be a little egotistical to include that for a moment, but, you know, why not? Thought I'd include it. It's a nice little stat. I finished P8, my best before. I'm not the fastest driver. I was slow in that race. I was like, I think the third to last slowest in terms of like race pace times, but I qualified 7th, so, you know, F2 getting attendance as well, heading the right direction, so that's always a nice thing to have happen. But yeah, that's why I raced, because attendance was not the greatest. And no one really watched the F2 streams, so if you want to watch the F2 streams and want the action, just let me know, then I'll stream again. But, you know, I'm talking to myself the entire time, that's the problem. Whereas with Tier 2 and Tier 1, more notable, more out there, and more viewers. That's the thing. So, speaking of more viewers, we're going to see if we can get more viewers to watch Borbin's lap. Borbin, now, let's see if he can get any higher on the grid. P8 right now for Williams is a very massive achievement in qualifying. Helps them so much in the starting position in this race to battle Haas and Alfa Romeo. However, Borbin tackles the S section very well so far. If he can qualify P6 or higher, that ties or betters the best starting spot from a Williams in RPL. Comes through Sector 1 though, obviously improving by a 10th. Let's see what he can do through Sector 2 now. Owen, take it away.
Mr. Who? You watching Borbin?
Borbin.
The only man on a hot lap, getting a massive slippy, tippy, toppy, whoopee off the Mercedes Adzi Wadzi. That's going to benefit him crucially. Can he beat the McLaren of TS Core? I think TS Core's lap also was a bit of a mistake. Ridden lap, but Borbin is up by a few tenths into the final sector. This is where it's absolutely critical you do not make any errors. A very tight entry into the triple right. I don't know what he's cooking there, but is he cooking with gas, or is he going to blow up the house? We're going to find out in the final 2 corners. Using all the excess runoff curvatry. That's not a word, but it is now. And for the final corner he comes, it's going to be in the 33.0. That's P6.
If no one improves, that's tying the best spot in qualifying for Williams. That would be massively impressive, but he'd need nobody to improve on a lap time behind him. And now the question is, everyone on Alaps, will they make it to the flag? The only big question on whether or not any driver will make it to the flag will become Groggers, and not Ferrari. We now watch T.S. Korsman, who's going purple in the first sector. Can Korsman improve on the lap time and get a second pole position for a second consecutive week? Another thing we'll watch out for in the race as well, as chat is now getting very active in the final moments of Q3. Give us your pole predictions and pole time predictions. The question that they're asking is, where will Scyther be by the end of lap number 3? That should be interesting to find out. Either way, back to Korsman. Can Korsman find the time, find improvement? More drivers coming through at the end of the sectors. 4/10 up is Korsman. Everyone made it to the flag in time. So now it's up to Korsman to try to improve and try to get up on the grid. With this time right now, he would beat the teammate. And now, here he comes through the final 5 corners. 16, 17, 18, and now up to 19, the penultimate corner. Turn 20, up in front, using a ton of curb there is Korsman. But can Korsman take pole number 2 in RPL? Comes across the line, he's P4. He's ahead of Ads. Next will be Ads. 5/10 up is Ads. Ads trying to take pole position. Ads, this is very impressive right now from Ads, who has done well in Q1, done well in Q2. Ads coming across the line. Can it be pole position number 2? It's pole number 2 for Ads. Borbin improves, I think, just a little. Minico across the line, only 6th. Redfire 7th. Behind that is the Red Bulls. Cryptic can't go on the pole. Stays 2nd but improves. Reese comes across the line and takes pole position. Reese, at the last moment in qualifying, a 73-point lead is going to maximize that once more. No points for pole, but definitely the key starting spot for him. Grogger's improved, but not enough for pole. He was P5.
Mr. Al's got a humongous slipstream. Bourbon returning the favour down the big boy straight. And it wasn't enough to stay in and his smexy little car. Racing to on pole position yet again.
Reese takes pole number 9, pole number 3 this season, tying his best in a single season. Ads starts second. Ads his last pole position. You'd have to go all the way back to last season. It's unfortunate. He was really impressive. Cryptic P3. Cryptic a 10th back. Cryptic really good for Red Bull though, in order to maximize what they can for the constructors. Luke Groggers ran out the top 5. And then it's Korsman, Minico with a decent qualifying. Red Fire, Bourbon, and Stenner. Bourbon and Stenner making up the last 2 rows of the last drivers in Q3. Or sorry, last 2 spots, excuse me. Strategy for the race, let's talk about it. So, expect the drivers to go soft hard, medium hard, or use that reverse strategy. Pitting anywhere from laps 7 to 18. That's what's to be expected. The hards, they go 18 to 22 laps. Anything over that will likely be a puncture, and probably will be a puncture for the drivers. The softs, if you're starting on the softs, longest you probably will go is 14 laps. I don't think anyone goes over that, but the pit stop loss, 19.5 seconds. We'll watch out for that if there's no safety cars. We've had safety cars in 3 of the last 9 rounds. And ERS, you gain back in the pit lane a total of 17%.
That's crazy. Where have you got that stamp?
What'd you say?
Where'd you get them stats?
Oh, I get them from secret source. Here we go. Here come the 5 red lights. A little bit of a quick one here for the U.S. Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. Reese trying to cover off Ads off the line already. Pulling to the left side. And now defending it off on the run toward turn 1. The hill where Ads and Luke dive down the inside of Cryptic. Cryptic using the runoff. A bit of contact between the 2 Mercedes, and off the back you see Hunted, Shroud Racer, Scyther I believe may have got some damage. He did get damage. Very crucial to the championship. The safety car is out.
Absolutely bonkers.
Shroud Racer out.
Tired on circuit. I'm going to clip that. That's not good. Effect.
That is not good.
Oh, bad boy.
Minico and Kipu had their game crash while that happened.
Sure.
Well then. Make sure you get them an invite back. I am going to quickly grab another water. I've ran out. Alright, I'm back. We will see if anyone else pits for damage besides the 3 we talked about. Hunted, Scyther, and obviously Travis is out of this race, so he's not going to be able to pit, but there you go. See a ton of cars there. There's damage in the back. Yeah, Jackstar has damage. Blonde as well. We did not mention Blonde. Blonde in this race now. So much action. I mean, did you catch that from the back of the field there, Owen?
I just saw people spinning and I tried to find out who it was. There was a young gentleman questioning what track should he choose for his F1 career mode. Round off on your 5 favorite tracks. As we're in the safety car period.
Interesting.
Suzuka.
Well, I will make sure Kippu gets an invite back. I don't know if he's in the
I
session
sent
now or
him one
not.
back.
I'll
He's
send
in,
him
yeah.
another one. I say you just pick USA for all 5 races there. Either way, I think you should tune into this race because we've got a championship battle on hand, Joshy. We've got Reese leading this race. He's 73 points ahead of Scyther. And Scyther had damage on damage there on lap 1 at the back of the grid in P18 after all that. And Minico says he's lucky he's still alive. I think there's a lot of drivers lucky they're still alive, in all honesty. With that one, that happened toward the back of the grid. I think a lot of drivers in the chat expressing their frustration, expressing it. They really are, because here's what some of the drivers have said. Minico, of course my game had a crash. Kippu, game crashed. Redfire says, I'm sorry, who the bleep just dive bomb turn 1 and almost killed myself, Flaw and Minico. So tons of drivers not happy there at all from the start of the race. Everyone caught up to the safety car, but we're not going to see it in unless it's a late one. Reese, I think he defended that start quite well, I must say. He got off the line very well, made sure to defend the left side and stayed in the lead. Actually extended a second gap before the safety car came out, Owen.
Reese Dainty is a very good driver in the race starts, I'd have to say. He's always watching everywhere, everyone. He's very articulate, this little fella. Yeah, the two Mercedes obviously were getting a bit hectic on the start, and he didn't lose his head. He usually, any lesser man would have seen two Mercedes on the inside, and got terrified and backed off and let them through. And all this young boy who's looking to clinch a title here in F1 and RPL. This is his childhood dream. He grew up watching all the big boys in RPL when he was in F2. And that's probably Reese's #1 thing on his league racing bucket list, to finally win a championship in Tier 1. And I'll be a bit happy for him, but he's a very dependable boy.
Make it a total of 4 of the last 10 races with the safety car being out. You could just see with the HUD off, Reese Dainty and that 48 Red Bull following along with the safety car. A couple of things to mention. Obviously, dry race today. 3 races we've had that were wet this season. Next chance to have that happen, Mexico or Brazil. Probably won't get it at Vegas or Abu Dhabi for the final 2 weeks of racing. Another thing as well is you mentioned Reese, who's not won the Tier 1 title, was second to TB last season. TB not in today's race, but we do like to see him in the race because Alpine have had 7 points finishes in the last 8 races, trying to make it 8 of the last 9. They have Grandpa, their highest runner right now, because Jack Star picked up damage on lap 1. Everyone else from 15th on back has pitted at least once in this race. Blonde involved in the turn 1 melee. Jack Star involved. Scyther was involved. And now the safety car in.
Just double check who actually
Here we go.
has one made the pit stop. Hunt has made 2 pit stops, so he's big brain. The current championship leader. Is he still a championship leader in Tier 2? I believe he is.
Not anymore.
Is he not?
Grandpa took that over. That spot.
Oh, I thought
now,
it was
our championship leader, Reese, leads us to the green flag here. And it's a matter of when will he go. He's got that battery fully recharged. Lap number 3 of the race. Can we get more green flag action underway? Here's Reese on the pedal to the metal, back to the green flag once again here. Buggity, buggity, buggity. We're back racing again. Now it's lap number 4 of the U.S. Grand Prix. I know I said I'd probably do it at one point, but I did it. It's U.S. time. And now 4/10 the gap, 5/10 the gap. Can Ads find any way around Reese, the race leader? Everyone else staying single file up until 14th. Blonde getting through on Kippu, runs a little deep. Now Kippu able to keep him at bay for now. However, Blonde gets the traction and goes around the outside and gets the move done.
That little cheeky dive into turn 1. It's very easy to overtake into turn 1, obviously, with the uphill braking zone. Very easy to very late, and he's got the move done. Very nice take from Bond on the medium tires, of course.
Scyther on Jackstar, side by side right here. You can see in front of that
Oh
TS
no!
Korsman and Groggers. And there goes Luke. Luke down the order. Luke's had something happen. It's involved a McLaren, a Korsman.
I just noticed the end bit of that. I did not see what happened. I think Korsman was damaged. He's peeling off.
Red Fire now with Groggers. Side by side, we'll get to the action at the front of the field. You saw Scyther trying to gain spots. He did just that on the Alpine of Jackstar, but Red Fire through on Groggers. Also, Minico and Bourbon. Minico ahead of Bourbon for 6th place on the road, and you can see that's around the spot where the action happened between Luke and Korsman. Korsman with that damage, maybe an illegal overtake as well, because he completely let Luke go, and that's what happened right there between those two. Those were the two who caused a little bit of contact. And you can see Scyther now up to 14th. And in front of that, Annex and Grandpa duking it out.
Mr. Annex, Oliver Behrman, got very close to Grandpa's rear right tyre, leaving the triple right. Thought it was going to be a major collision, but luckily they're unscathed as Grandpa goes to the inside of beating their turbo on the American. Defending on home soil until he scores, but it's retired a bit late. And beating retains the position.
Now, you have Beatnik trying to hold off Grandpa as Grandpa is hustling up in the back of him. In front of that Cryptic has DRS on ads whenever that does get enabled. Groggers as well within closing range of Red Fire. And this train of cars continuing to once again follow itself. And there was Grandpa off the road. That's Behrman taking advantage. And now L74G going to try to climb his way back up to the field. Inside line here, gets the move done.
A lot of strategy alterations throughout the field. Dinty's gone for the medium tire, obviously, at the start. So he's going to need to put in the laps right now as Groggers goes down the inside of Red Fire. Yeah, both drivers on the medium tires. They'll be doing an earlier pit stop in the cars in front. And Groggers needs to move on if he wants to have a factor in the podium finishes in this Grand Prix.
Korsman says he's at fault for the collision with him and Luke, and Scyther down the inside on Grandpa. Scyther's through on Grandpa, but Grandpa wanted that switchback, wanted to try to go around the outside, couldn't do it. So Scyther ahead, up into P12 already. Korsman retiring from the race out of shame. Can't believe what happened between him and Luke. It was Korsman's fault, he believes, in that incident. So now we look to the positions gained as DRS will be enabled here. 3 for Red Fire, 1 for Minico, 2 for Bourbon, 4 for the Chiller. How about that in the AlphaTauri? And now, here goes Beatnik and Luke and Behrman. 3-car battle. Now make it Luke ahead of Beatnik, and now Beatnik trying to stay ahead of Behrman. Behrman gained 5 spots on the start. Scyther gained 7, with Blonde at 6. Trying to gain some more here at the very tail of this grid for what could be points soon here.
And I believe Behrman has let Christopher through.
Very smart.
Christopher can drive on. Beatnik also did the same to Luke. He let Luke through into turn 1. So a lot of team orders going on in the middle of the field. That's usually what happens when a fast car is out of position. No team orders going on between Blonde and Stenner, though. Wheelpool Racing down the big boy straight. Both drivers with DRS. So 2 has got the bigger brakes into the next corner, and the Schiller ahead of Bourbon as well.
The Chiller does get Bourbon. We just saw that as well, as now Stenner gets pushed onto the curb. Blonde on the inside line in front of you can see Beatnik and Scyther, both Americans going side by side, and Stenner is ahead of Blonde. But will Blonde challenge back? The answer is no. Beatnik now duking it out with Scyther in the final sector. Beatnik on the inside line for the next couple of corners. Scyther outside line for turn 19. They do remain wheel to wheel. Beatnik pushes Scyther out. They come together, and they're both around. The 2 Americans at Texas come together.
They've got the exact same helmets. They had a collision with each other.
Luke gets Bourbon for 8th as well. Oh my goodness. Well, now you have Grandpa and Behrman heating it up for 10th place. Grandpa ahead for right now. Behrman wants to challenge us back with his teammate in the background, trying to hustle him up as well. But Joshy feels that incident with Scyther and Beatnik was dirty. What do you think?
I think it was a clear Just egregious action from both drivers there. Beanick had a very good run after the triple right. He had the inside. Obviously in the quicker car and the quicker tyre. Should have realistically had the grip to go around the outside, but he, I don't know. As Cryptic has got ads now on the straight. Yes, I think Skusser has got more fault in that blame in that incident. As the Schiller has been absolutely swarmed.
Yes, he is. By both Mercedes Academy drivers. Bourbon pushes him onto the curb. And now the Schiller wants the inside line back. He does get the inside line back and is ahead of Bourbon. Bourbon has to contest a spot, though, for now. And this train of cars, you just sort of wonder, as Zakaria has noted, how many times has Scyther been taken out in 7 laps?
Twice. They're doing a very good job to hold on to P8 for the time being in the AlphaTauri, so kudos to the young Italian.
A little contact between both Haas drivers right there, but, you know, I must say, interesting turn of events. Minico hits the back of Red Fire there for P5, not so good right there, and pitting a Scyther. Does Scyther stay in this race? Does Scyther continue to remain on the same tires? Or does he go to the hards and think I can make it to the end? Because at this rate, he really could.
Well, the Schiller was annual penalty every race. And Lads is very close to the back of Cryptic for P2.
Here we go. Cryptic trying to fend off for his teammate, maybe. Trying to fend off for his own race. How about trying to fend off on the highest hard runners? Second and third, the 2 highest hard runners. They switch spots. Adds ahead of Cryptic. And now behind that, you could see Groggers trying to maintain the train of Red Fire and Minico. He does do just that. However, Red Fire in the braking zone wants to look for a move. Switchback time. Inside line. A bit of touching right there. But it's Groggers staying ahead. Behind that as well, you can see both Haas's also following one another, while Blonde also about to get overtaken by Jackstar. However, it was Jackstar and Hunted, the two who went at it right there, and Hunted giving Jackstar a couple of taps here.
The houses are getting very close to each other. Grandpa's having a little bit of a concertina effect here. Everyone's lining up behind him, frothing at the bit to overtake him. Let's actually become the Schiller train.
Yes, absolutely. He has a penalty, so right now points would go to a Haas. With that being said, in front of that, you have Minico following Red Fire once again, and the gap for the lead, 2.5 seconds between Ads and Cryptic. Or sorry, Ads and Reese, excuse me. But Cryptic falls behind Ads. You can see Jackstar and Hunted now trade spots right there. Hunted behind now after turn 1.
These two come the Blues in Tier 2, and now here they are, Tier 1, having a little fight near the back of the field. They're not used to this in their full-time seats in Tier 2, but showing they can do it at the front and the back of the field, these two drivers. But they're trying to catch this little train in front. Can they do it? It'll be crucial for both their Grand Prix.
Scyther making it very clear, not happy with Beatnik. So 2 Americans going at it. And just not pretty from their sides. 2 different academies as well with those 2. We now maybe see a move being made in the back straight in the background. Jackstar and Hunted. Hunted an inside line for the next corner. Jackstar outside line. And it was going to be around the outside from Jackstar. However, he tried to cut back on Hunted. Couldn't do it. It's Hunted who remains in 14th place. Remember, this is outside the points, but, you know, with revert strategies, with people who've already pitted, you know, a lot can happen in this race to where these 2 right now could be battling for a point spot later in this race. And they wanted that American side glory. Interesting there with the thoughts about Beatnik and Scyther there. You can see the run to toward turn 1 with these train of cars just hungry at one another. Everyone wants a position in this train because the Chiller leading it, backing them up in that AlphaTauri. 8th place has that penalty, would be Bourbon if this race were to end right now. And behind that is Grandpa, Behrman, Stanner, Blonde, and even further behind that, Hunted and Jackstar, who've fallen off of this train.
Their battling is obviously hindering them here. If they work together to catch the queue in front, it would be more intelligent, but They've declined the offer.
Now let's see what happens down this back straight. Anyone shaping up a move? Let's find out. Minico and Redfire might be the closest place where we could see a move. Yes, it is. Redfire closing the gap on Groggers. Redfire ducks to the outside line. Can he make this around the outside? They're going to be side by side here. Redfire uses a bit of the curbing, but cannot get through. Oh, the Chiller's been spun around by Bourbon. And there goes the Chiller down the order. The Chiller was hanging on very well and also had the penalty, but now that's come undone.
I'm sad.
Grandpa and Stenner. Stenner ahead of Grandpa. So now both Haas's into the points. In their home race. Very well done.
The penalty likely ensuing there for Mr. Bourbon for that.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be very careful when following another car. And you can see it in this train. Minico ducking out to make sure he doesn't hit the car in front of Redfire. That's the exact thing that happens all the time. And Behrman down the inside on Bourbon. Had a look, but now his teammate has to back out of that a little earlier to not hit him.
A little bit of a late movement. But should be fine. I think he decided to play the waiting game, Mr. Anna Behrman.
Let's see. Luke's caught up to this train now with Minico, Redfire, and Groggers. Luke had that spin with Korsman, and you can see Minico down the inside of Redfire. It must be said that L74G has tons of pace if he can catch back up to this train. Yes, there's been battling, but not a whole lot. If he can catch back up, he could be on for a podium if the circumstances go right. He has tons of pace considering he spun out, was, I don't know, a good 3-4 seconds back. A while back, in fact.
Oh, free wide!
Here you go. Ducking to the middle is Stenner. Stenner side by side with the teammate. Now they both get out of Bourbon, and the two teammates almost come together. And it's now Stenner, the inside line for the next corner. Around the outside is Behrman. Can Behrman hang on? No, he's continuing to slide.
Excellent little swap there between the two passes. Pushing and shoving, but all completely legal.
16, 17, 18, a little bit of following with one another. And now to the front straight. It's 0.8 the gap between Cryptic and Ads. The lead is 2.9 seconds. Groggers a 6-second gap to Cryptic, and Minico hanging on for 5th quite well. They have a nice little 4-car train. While even behind that, it's for 8th. Stenner leading Behrman. With DRS from Behrman now. Hunted and Jackstar. Nice little ding-dong battle here. Hunted inside line for turn 2, gets ahead.
Schiller catching them now as well.
After his little spin too.
Mr. Dainty definitely is got one hand and 3 fingers on the second hand on the World Driver Championship trophy now. Gusper's gonna need a few thoughts and prayers. And a safety car to have an opportunity to fight back here.
You know, it's crazy to think of what happened with Luke and, hold on, Minico on the inside line gets the overtake done. How about that? Late on the brakes, Aston Martin getting their brakes figured out and getting everything they can figured out because Minico to 4th. How about that? Blonde on Grandpa, Jackstar on Hunted. Grandpa off the road rejoins alongside Blonde. Luke gets Redfire in the process. Grandpa and Bourbon do make contact. However, Blonde ahead of Grandpa. And Hunted, Jackstar to Chiller. 3-car battle here. 3 cars under a blanket. They do touch Jackstar and Hunted. The Chillers tries to take advantage around the outside. Rear wheel to front wheel was Hunted into Chiller. And they come together. There is Jackstar around. While that happened, Redfire pits. Grandpa pits. And Luke and Groggers. Luke gets Groggers. Groggers inside line. These two came to collision in Japan, but Groggers is back ahead. So, our pit stops that we mentioned around lap 7 to 18, mainly lap 11 onwards with the mediums or hard runners, you know, we're now seeing it, and we're now seeing if the undercut can be made. We'll switch the gap to the leader in a moment, excuse me. We'll do that to kind of see where people are in terms of teammates or, you know, battles, because again, you lose 19.5 seconds in the pit stops and you gain back 17%. Jackstar with a 3-second. It must be said with Korsman as well, by the way. Hold on, Grogger's inside line on Minico. Can't get through. Has to defend from Luke now. Can Groggers hold on L74G for position? Side by side. L74G back down the inside. Side by side. It is Groggers ahead for now. And does anybody else pit now becomes my question. So far, the top 3 says no. With Korsman, by the way, I just wanted to note this. This is his first finish this season, worse than 6th in all of his 4 starts that he's made this season. He has not finished worse than 6th. Well, that did change today with his DNF. Only 2 DNFs for now.
Grogger's in the pit lane.
Does anybody join him? We'll switch the gap to the leader now. And we'll see if there's any battling while that happens. Redfire, 31 seconds behind the leader. You can see Groggers coming out now. Where is he going to be in comparison to Redfire? Redfire's ahead.
The undercut
Groggers might be...
is powerful. 2.3 seconds, 4 seconds, he's got him.
Redfire with this undercut. Let's check. Like we said, we lose 19.5 seconds in the pit lane. 20 seconds. I mean, he's going to be clearly 4th by a long margin at this rate with Redfire with that undercut. At this rate, Redfire is on for a podium if anything happens in the top 3. That's why that's notable. Redfire, highest driver in the championship without a podium. He has had 6 consecutive points finishes and, in fact, consecutive seasons with a podium. So he does deserve this, no doubt about it. Stenner and Behrman swap spots, excuse me. Stenner locks up in the braking zone, but nothing to worry about there because Borbin's not close enough to make the move.
Chiller and Hunter, Wales World Racing is the leader pits.
Chiller goes through.
P10, but of course it will not be net points as Redford Tiger, who has been his pit stop, chasing them down.
Ads also in as well for Mercedes, crucial toward his race to maybe get an undercut on Cryptic as we're halfway. Anyone else pitting Behrman is?
Ads. He's not gonna suffer any major undercut time loss to Reese Danes either. So he's not got the pace advantage, and he's got the same gap that he had to him before the pit stop. So this could be a big brain play from Ads, but he could suffer from dramatic tire wear loss later in the Grand Prix.
Redfire inside line of the Chiller goes through right here. Redfire trying to battle his way to get back up on the field and not have any traffic here. You can see Beatnik and Jackstar, a little battle right there. Beatnik off the road having a very, very treacherous race. Beatnik, 5 points finishes the season. It's not going to be 6 if he continues at this rate. Scyther also gets Behrman, I believe. Yeah, that's the back of the grid. Jackstar and Beatnik continuing to battle it out. Anyone else with a battle? Yes, Minico and Luke. Minico through for second. Remember, this is net P4 with all this battling going on. You know, they're really trying to make sure who's going to be the one to attack Redfire here between these guys. The drivers yet to pit still. You have Kipu. You have the Chiller. You have Morbin.
Jackson's being very egregious.
Front 3. Ooh, 3 wide on the back straight. Beatnik gonna dive down the inside. Can't get through.
I believe Jackson just did a masterclass there for his teammate Grandpa. Beatnik tried to be overtake on Jackson's Grandpa just dives out that past Kipu. Oh my day, he's very aggressive. And now Beatnik's trying to get him as well, possibly around the outside. We know the last time Beatnik went around the outside of a Ferrari-powered car in this sector, they had a bit of a collision in the next corner. Hippie backs out. But yeah, Jackster was battling with Beatnik on the straight and then squeezed him as tight as he could to the left-hand side, which allowed Grandpa to dive on through and take the position. So great teamwork from Jackster there.
Minico comes out behind Groggers, but Groggers is 4.5 seconds back from Redfire. Redfire really doing very well, on for a good result today, no doubt about it. He's had many points finishes this season, many consecutive, and continuing to try to extend on that. McLaren only McLaren left in this race. 10 consecutive points finishes they're looking for. Gonna have to rely on Redfire. Reese and Luke now. Reese and L74G. L74G had to pit in this race. Reese going through. Adds in the background. Also for Mercedes has pitted, but on the fresher tires. He's on mediums now compared to Reese's hards. Rogers gets the chiller as well. Ooh, little battle right here. Minico wants the bit of the action. Minico on the inside line. These two have been battling back and forth all race, but Minico gets the overtake done. However, Rogers sends one back down the inside. Side by side here at the last sector. They do touch a little bit, but nothing too harmful. Minico inside line for this corner. Trying to stay ahead. They do connect wheels, but nothing critical, and now we have a crash.
Kipu is around.
It's Kipu.
Kipu, Jackster, and I believe it was, who was the other one? Kipu, Jackster, Stenner are all very close together. I believe Stenner may have had a slight incident with Jackster, but then Kipu got involved, and I'm not sure Blonde was involved as well. So, an interesting debacle at the back half of the field there. And now Stenner.
Not happy with Jackstar. Look at this. Scyther gonna pinch him on the straight. Jackstar being a complete roadblock. I think Skither felt, because you could see he was pinching him, sending one, and doing all that kind of stuff with Jackstar. Scyther looks to be through, and now he is. Jackstar on those medium tires. Gonna have to pit again. Hunted going through. Gets the spot. However, they remain side by side on the S's. Jackstar has to back out, surely, and he does do that spinning.
Happened.
Flipped the curb. I think went over the curb, flew over it, and spun around. Now it's Cryptic and Bourbon yet to pit, the only two drivers. But Scyther really agreed, just battling there with Jackstar, and I think reasonably so.
Stenner on Blonde now for P11. With after a few stops, could be points paying positions for Stenner in the Haas, and he's gotten past very nicely, calmly, and easily done. No crashing this time.
There you go. Remember, Red Bull won the Constructors.
Continue their battle again.
Yeah, Red Bull won the Constructors title last season as well, by the way, just to put that out for perspective. Bourbon locks up in the pit lane trying to get it under the speed limit. He does just do that, but yeah, Red Bull won the Constructors last season. And they're 1-2 right now, with one yet to pit.
Then Cryptic might be going for the sauce at the end of this race.
And would be very interesting if he could do that.
Car.
Would be very, very interesting.
He's going to be coming out a long way behind Alice, who he was battling before. And he could have his worst Jackster there, I believe it is, off the track at turn 60, 17, 18. And like Kipu's going to get him. Ooh.
We've got Hunted, Scyther, Bourbon in a battle. Bourbon comes out right in front of Scyther. Hunted has to yield to Scyther. He does do just that. Kipu battling Jack in the back of the field. And now L74G switching back on Groggers for P6 in this race. Remember, Cryptic yet to pit. You lose 19 seconds in the pit lane. Would come out barely ahead of Redfire right now. But remember, he's trying to go for the soft tires, we think, in this race. They can go the amount of time he wants them to go. But will they be fast enough to catch back up to Ads by the end of this? Who right now is only 6 seconds back from him.
On to the pit he comes. We'll get our answer.
We will get our answer. Very interesting indeed. How much farther is he going to be ahead of Redfire, who is trying to hang on over Minico? It is the mediums. Wow, that is a big shock. So he was maybe waiting on a safety car. Cryptic, that was.
Well, I think that was a very silly call. If you're going to go that long, you may as well chuck on the soft compound tires. He's only on 4 lap fresher tires than Ads in front. And look at the gap he's got to claw back. It's much too big.
Minico and Redfire. Turn 1. A little bit of a switchback, though. Redfire now trying to muscle his way back past. Minico on the fresher tires goes through. Minico up into 4th. So Minico for Aston Martin doing very well, in fact. And trying to get Aston another good finish. Remember, the last time Aston was on the podium? Yeah, you'd have to go all the way back to Ads with Singapore not too many races ago. But even before that, it was the start of the season, though. So Aston doing their fair share to try to pass McLaren in the constructors. Only one car in the points, with Beatnik's troubles, Korsman's troubles for McLaren. McLaren with the one car as well in the points. So very nice battling there. And here comes Luke. Ads is closing now in Reese, though. This is interesting. This is a second gap between them. Just want to note that with the two U.S. races, you know, that are usually done, we have a third one coming later this season. Scyther won Miami. Reese could win today. Who wins in Vegas? That becomes the question. That's the penultimate round. The first time we ever go there, and that is Jackstar causing yellow flags.
Well, inevitable that safety car will come out if he continues these antics. He's got a penalty for his troubles.
We have 4 drivers with a penalty this race, it must be said. Not as many as Qatar.
So honestly, literally every single corner has a flat exit curb. So very easily you track extend. It is quite easy to some corners in the circuit to track extend, but a lot harder. As Luke dives to the inside for an absolutely crucial dive overtake, but Minico's going to get the switch back. And through the long turn 2, is he going to get a better run? I don't think he will. Unless they go wheel to wheel through the S section, which is unlikely, as Luke retains the position. Brilliant overtake as Kipu's got a penalty.
I thought that was Minico for a moment, I must say. It did get close there at the S section, and now the race lead is 6/10. Ads finally has DRS. We mentioned he was very, very fast in qualifying in Q1, Q2, just barely off the pole position. Obviously, he had a pole last season, but he's never had a race win, Ads. And Ads on those fresher tires is much faster, can take over the race lead. 3 previous podiums in RPL, never a victor. Never a victor. Never victorious, excuse me. Never a victor. Minico threw in Luke. Stenner now. Stenner on Grandpa. Grandpa has that penalty, P8 in this race. Stenner has Blonde behind as well. How about 3 wide? Blonde pushing his car to the inside line. Stenner, though, getting ahead of the both of them.
Oh dear! Grandpa and Blonde still wheel to wheel. I think Blonde's going to win out this battle there. The fresher tires, the quicker tires, paying dividends for Blonde there.
Right,
and Cryptic with the fastest lap of the race. But too little too late, I fear. As is Luke going to go for it again.
This battle for P4 continues once again. L74G down the inside, through in Minico. Minico contests a spot. Back to the race lead, 5/10 the gap. Again, we said Ads 3 podiums previously in RPL. Never a race winner. I want to look where there's
a little train forming behind him.
Podiums came from. He had a 3rd in Singapore. Obviously, he was on the podium before that.
And Hunter's overtaking Scuzfer.
Ooh!
Oh, son.
Side by side in the S's! Whoa! Stenner with a penalty now. That is now Hunted as well with 1. That's 6 drivers in the penalty box. Oh my goodness. This is a nice little battle. Scyther only 1 race off of the podium when he's raced, but looks like that will become 2 now that he's had like that. Unbelievable. And now you can see the Chiller right there as well, Scyther's former teammate. How about that?
Those 14 lap Warden Hard's obviously not helping him at all against these 7 lap and 4 lap Warden medium runners. If anything, he's hurting Hunted's race here. So, as an academy teammate, Scuzfer is not doing a good job. As the Schiller's going to try it around the outside. Going to get a switch back on Hunted. It's going to become the outside line, though, for the next corner. Is Hunter going to give him the on the circuit? He's going to have to. He's far enough alongside the Schiller with a brilliant overtake. Pull this off. Oh, he's done it.
Fair play to the Chiller. He's not had the best of races, it must be said, the last couple of weeks, but he's coming back at it. And now Ads for the race lead. Ads is much closer now and has been close to the last 2 DRS zones. And now he sets himself up for this zone, only 2/10 back from Reese. And Cryptic, by the way, was staying out as long as he did. He's probably going to be 2 seconds back. He's nowhere to challenge. He's nowhere there. And the Chiller and Scyther continue to trade spots, but now for the lead. Ads 2 times on the podium in Season 6. 1 this season so far. That was an Aston Martin, and this time in a Mercedes, trying to take the race lead and can't do it just yet.
A little train falling behind Stenner here. He's got the 3-second time penalty now. So, 2 cars in front of Mr. Annex for the penalty. He was mentioned earlier that it was easy in Qatar. He finished P10 or so on track and balling all the way up to P6. And now, speaking of Stenner, here he goes, being overtaken by Blonde and the other Alpha Taurians. Blonde's teammate is still after a collision earlier with Bourbon is out of the points. So one AlphaTauri who's coming last in the points at the moment. And speaking of the Schuster's absolutely sent it on him.
Scyther is through on Chiller. Fair play right there. The Chiller having a nice little battle with his old teammate. Must be said. Beatnik as well closing up to this battle. We'll see if Beatnik does battle Scyther before the end of this race. And yeah, one hand on the trophy already from Reese, it must be said, with the way this race has gone. If we finish this race right now, as Bearman and Grandpa trade spots in the front straight, very nicely done.
Major tank snapper.
Yeah, if things do end up the way it is right now, as Ads is now pressuring Reese for the lead, the gap in the championship would be 98 points. And here comes Ads. Ads with DRS. Ads looking for the race lead inside line. And he's through. Ads into the race lead. But can he hang on?
To overtake.
Can he hang on becomes the question with those medium tires. Those medium tires do start to fall off around now a little bit. But do they fall off enough to where Reese can re-overtake him for the race win? Also, in the background, Blonde is trying to hold on for 8th over Stenner. Stenner has a penalty. Blonde doesn't, but we'll see if anyone appeals anything as well. Bourbon with Grandpa, the move is done. Stenner also gets Blonde. That move is done as well. Now, further behind that, Scyther and the Chiller. The Chiller ducking out. The Chiller trying to prevent some slipstream. Beanick also with Hunted. Scyther around the outside. The two former teammates don't come together. They keep it clean. Fair play to them. It's Scyther ahead of the Chiller. And Grandpa gets a 3-second for completely cutting the corner. You know, we mentioned, I think, at the end of last week, 33 different pole sitters, 33 different winners in RPL. It must be said, Ads can become 34, and now Redfire and Groggers almost coming together. Groggers is ahead, but Redfire, at the expense of that, didn't want to give up the place. And now 13th continues once again. This is just an amazing battle. Here's Beatnik giving on in the action. Beatnik and Scyther. Whoa! Beatnik to the inside. That's a lunge that was going to result in contact, and it did a little. Scyther comes out ahead. The Chiller side by side with Beatnik to the S's. And now for the lead, they switch spots. Ads made a mistake, and Ads gets overtaken by Reese at the straight there. They were 7/10 within one another, with Ads ahead, and now Ads 7/10 back. Never find out.
The replay here. Reese just went down the inside, I think. No, he didn't. Yeah, Ads made a mistake.
Again?
And this fight for P13 is getting absolutely chaotic here.
Can we go 2x2 here? Let's see. Scyther and Beatnik, a little revenge tour now. Yellow flags, that's in front of that. That's actually for the lap car. However, Scyther sending one on 3 of them at once. Scyther 3 wide. They come back on, and Scyther's got damage. Hunted came back on, and Scyther got involved, and now is missing a front wing. The 3rd time Scyther's been involved in a crash this race.
Let me look at that again, a little clip of it. We'll have a little look, see what happened there. Hunted goes off the circuit. Oh, and he just comes back on, and Beatnik and
Jack Star's got a puncture.
Spun around now.
Jack Star on 21 lap mediums with a puncture and into the pit lane. Now for the lead. Ads trying to retake the race lead once again after his mistake. Ads inside line on Reese. Ads through. Reese concedes the spot. He basically had to. And now this involves Cryptic in this race as well. He's now got under a 4-second gap, and it's closing in the late stage of this race with 4-lap fresher tires. But is it too little too late for Cryptic?
This has been a horror show for Christopher. Absolutely horrible as Groggers and Red First Tiger resume their battle.
Jack Star, yellow flags for him coming out of the pit lane. It's not been his day, no doubt about it. He got a podium here in Tier 2 at the start of this game cycle, and it's not gone the way he would have wanted it to. Back to the race lead, 4/10 the gap. Reese closing on the straight, but is not close enough. Again, if he were to finish second, though, 91 points the gap. And we saw a gap at 91 points before, but we thought it'd close. It did not. The Chiller goes through Beatnik. I mean, Ads, he's been fast this race. He's been fast all weekend. He was very fast in Q1, very fast in Q2. Just qualified a couple hundreds, a couple thousands, in fact, if you think about it, off of pole position. Ads did, and 3 P3s previously in RPL. I mean, he's in a Mercedes now, and Grandpa retires in the pit lane. Something's happened to him, but we take our focus back to the race lead because Ads is trying to hang on for a first win after 3 podiums. Here comes Reese. Reese closing the gap. Reese backs off, though, and saves a bit of battery because before in this race between these two, it was Reese who had battery lower than Ads, and now Ads has battery lower than Reese. Looks like Alpine will not be scoring points today. They had points in 7 of the last 8 races. Not going the way they would have wanted it to. Here's Redfire again on Groggers. Redfire puts his front wing into the back of his car, and now Redfire can't get through on Groggers. And we're now on the penultimate lap.
Cryptic's playing the intelligence game here, waiting for the last lap, I presume, to overtake Ad. He's hogging all the ERS, but both of them will be doing the same thing. So in the last lap, I expect an absolutely... the batteries will be thrown out the window. They'll be on the back straight, they'll be gone.
These
Who will win this Grand Prix?
Continue to battle, Owen. Cryptic's closing. He closed the gap right there, 2.9 to 2.5. If he gets a lot of battling, he is right there in this action. And it must be said, L74G off the podium today after his spin, P4. You know, I would say one of the Driver of the Day worthy performances. We'll talk about Driver of the Day after this race, but now the race for the lead. Here comes Reese with the battery being used. The inside line. Reese through and into the lead. Reese trying to go for win number 6 in the season. Has got the race lead once again. And now, Behrman, Blonde, Bourbon, Stenner all continue to battle. They traded spots for a moment there, but it's really Haas trying to hang on for points here. Redfire and Groggers. Oh, they touch on the straight. Redfire goes ahead. And now Groggers sends one back down the inside. Wow! They come together. Redfire's around. Luckily kept it going in a straight direction. We now start the final lap with Ads, who had a look on Reese. Does Reese give the spot back? Is that what he was thinking there? He ducked to the right side. Ads had a look, and now Cryptic's there. Cryptic's only 1.8 back as Redfire gets Groggers again. 2/10 the gap. Reese is trying for win number 6 in the season. Ads, 3 previous podiums, trying for win number 1 in RPL Tier 1. But is he close enough? Cryptic's also there if they come together. Reese, if he wins today, would tie to Chiller on the all-time win list for P3, and it would be a walk-off win for Reese. Here comes Ads. Ads dumping the battery. Is he close enough on the back straight, though? Inside line. Reese throws the block. goes for it. They're going to be side by side into the final sector. Reese off the track, they do bang. But Ads around the outside, trying for a first victory side by side. Ads coming out ahead for now with the inside line. They go side by side to the final 6-7 corners. Reese off the road, Ads back on ahead. He has a couple of corners remaining for this race victory. 3 P3s before an RPL F1. Aston Martin, he took a last podium with them, and now to the line with Reese chasing. Reese down the inside. Ads, 3 P3s. He's now victorious. Winner number 34 is Ads. What a W. Ads on the last lap did it. Reese with a walk-off P2. 91 points, one hand on the trophy. Cryptic, another podium for Red Bull, and now Groggers and Redfire fight it out.
Oh, they're still battling.
Redfire, inside line. This is where Bieniek and Scyther came together. Luke comes across fourth, Minico fifth, and now a fight for sixth. Redfire and Groggers photo finish to the line. Groggers did it. Bieniek is out. Behrman is 8th, Bourbon 9th for Williams. Williams, first point since Monza. Blonde 10th, Stanner 11th, and a Chiller continues his finishing streak. Wow.
Oh my god. Reese got so desperate at the end there, trying to lunge it into the final corner. Didn't work. His antics on the main straight will be scrutinized, I think. Or on the back straight will be scrutinized. Very late movement. But Ads wins anyway. Brilliant.
Hunted. Kipu, Scyther, your last points runners here. Or not points runners, sorry, finishers, excuse me. Scyther with the fastest lap. Scyther trying to extend on that fastest lap and can't do so. But does get P13 in the end. His second finish this season. That was outside the points. Ooh, what a race there at the end. Wow. 15 viewers saw the end of that race and that finish. What a finish worth watching. Ads victorious! Ads did it finally! 3 P3s before his last one with Aston Martin. Those were his podiums previously. And now, this is the one he stands on top for. And Circuit of the Americas. What a well-deserved win. It's the third Mercedes win of the season. Ads jumps off the podium, and honestly, I'd want to jump off it too with being that happy. What a well-deserved win. He fought for it. He was very clean with Reese. I mean, we've seen battles with Reese before that wasn't so clean, whether it comes on Reese's end or the other driver's end. Stenner and him at Austria, Cam and Reese at Zandvoort. But now, the pole sitter still has not won the last 12 races. If you also want to go back as well, in terms of Mercedes and Circuit of the Americas, I mean, they have 2 wins there, now ties Red Bull's record for amount of wins at this track in F1. Wow.
That was very enjoyable.
Yes, it was. What a race we got on our hands today. My goodness. The championship gap between Reese and Scyther, 91 points. Red Bull and Ferrari, well, that's going to become at least over 100 points. At least. My goodness. What else do we have? We have other races coming up as well. We're racing next week in Mexico. F2's at China next week and Tier 2's at Singapore. Who would you give driver of the day to right there? I know L74G had a nice comeback. Bourbon had a good points for Williams. He definitely deserves a shout out there. Bourbon does. Same with Behrman. Same with L74G, Minico as well. But I think my driver of the day is Ads. A first win deserves the credit it does. You know, every time he's been on podium, it's been a P3.
I would have said Ads, but I'll go Mr. L74G because he was one position in front of Scusfer at one point in that Grand Prix. And look where their two races ended up. Christopher obviously having a horror show, absolutely disgusting race for him. He'll be fuming, but Alzheimer 4G will be thrilled. It was a very good race for Murray was, and I award him my driver of the day award.
Absolutely. We have so many races coming up that are just going to be amazing in terms of the battling like we saw today. Mexico, the start is absolutely insane. It will be the race where Reese could clinch the title. That's as simple as that. Reese could clinch the title. What he needs to do is very simple. There will be 76 points on offer after Mexico. Scyther is 91 back. So the gap needs to be 76 points. Or not 76, 78 points, excuse me. I don't know why I said 76, but it needs to be 78 points between Reese and Scyther in order for there to be a championship race, meaning Scyther actually has to beat Reese, and by a couple positions likely too, in order to have a chance of this title race. But yeah, Mexico, there's been titles won there before in real life. I'm not sure if there's been titles won there before in RPL, but we'll figure that out come next week. Another thing as well to say, Mercedes, 32 races in a row, they've scored points. I mean, a win today obviously is great for them and looks great too. But that stat, I mean, just shows whoever they put in their car, they've been extremely consistent, Owen.
Are we talking about Mercedes?
Yes, 32 races in a row with points.
Well, oh yes, 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 yes. Well, Mercedes are always all RPL alumni is Mercedes. Um, Obviously in season one they weren't the best, but every other season, I don't remember the last time we've seen a bad season for Mercedes. Um, they've been very, very good. The management at Mercedes is obviously very, very well run, and they know what they're doing. They've got brilliant drivers all across the board. They've got about 15 reserve drivers as well. They're hogging them all, but yeah, they just seem to always be there. Just they always have a driver that's special, and Ads has displayed that again today.
Absolutely. Congrats to Ads. Race winner in F1. Must be said, he deserves the driver of the day. Award for that one. He sure is my driver of the day. What a walk-off win with that one. What a walk-off podium by Reese as well. I know it was not the win he probably would have wanted or could have got, but Reese has been impressive. The amount of P1, P2s he's had, incredible. Also, just one more stat before we talk about our races next week, Owen. Reese with the podiums in terms of seasons, or amount for the season in terms of all time. Let's look at this. That's teams. This is not
I'm pretty sure he's nowhere near.
drivers. Um, he's nowhere near Luke's record, but he ties himself third here, all time for podiums in a season, with 14 now. Fake TB last season had 14. DeChiller had 14 in season one, and next week he could take 15 with second place being tied with Luke in season 5, and obviously he's not going to beat the most of Luke's total in season 3 with 19, but he's going to get close there in a percentage at least, though. So Reese deserves that credit for the consistency. It's crazy to think about what's happened up to this point with the championship race. And I mean, it's come so distant now with Reese and Scyther. It's not going to be enough for Scyther to win it unless something miraculous happens. We'd need Reese to maybe get, executed in order for, Scyther to win this championship, honestly. But in all honesty, though, the race we saw today, I'm expecting more of the same next week, just with some strategy involved at Mexico. Always some strategy involved in Mexico, it seems like.
I personally am not a fan of the circuit due to the fact that it's slightly incorrect on one of the corners, but
I agree.
the big two straights down to turn one, down to turn four, obviously display a lot of nice racing from driving on it. It's a good track for overtaking. Um, in season, what was it, 9 of tier 2, or was it 10? Or sorry, 8. It was season 8, sorry. It was a brilliant circuit to come through the field in. Um, Obviously, not many overtaking opportunities apart from the first corner and turn 4, but it's an enjoyable circuit apart from that one corner that is vastly different.
All right, next week is racing in November in RPL. Make sure you tune in. It's getting time. The end of the season here. It's crazy how fast it's gone for all tiers, in fact. Next week for Tier 2, we return with more action. Tier 2 next week is at Singapore, F2 next week at China, and F1 Tier 1 at Mexico. I'm your commentator, Ryan Ocon, 31, 0-37, joined alongside me for today.
Why?
Good to have him. And now we sign off for tonight. Until next time, have a good one. We will see you for next time you join us watching RPL. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.